In the world. All the countries in the world are represented, and some of them have more than one association. India also has two associations linked to the IDF. Today is a very special day because we just celebrated World Diabetes Day in November 14. As part of that, we have had several activities all over India. But ever since Professor Schwartz took over as the IDF president, he has been one of the most active. I've been in this field for 50 years now, and I've seen many IDF presidents. But without any hesitation, I can say that I've not seen a more active IDF president than Professor Schwartz. You won't believe it. Every other day he is in some other country. In fact, from here he's going to Oman. From Oman he's going to Dubai. And then I've lost track where he's going after that. So every city in the world, every country in the world he is visiting, all continents he is visiting. But it's not just visiting, it's not just him going there, making speeches and so on. He's really trying to change the world for the better as far as diabetes is concerned. And the other thing, what Professor Schwartz is known for, he encourages youngsters to come up, and he also encourages new activities. Any new idea you give him, and he takes it up and he implements it. So in this context, I'm very happy that just about a few months ago he appointed me as the chair for the whole world for gestational diabetes, pregnancy related diabetes. And that activity is progressing very rapidly, and very soon we'll have a publication on a consensus statement from the whole world on what to do for early gestational diabetes, where it's diagnosed in the first trimester of pregnancy. That's something very new. But then he has always been, Professor Peter Schwartz, I've known him long before he became the IDF president 15-20 years ago when I first met him. He was a fitness freak even then, and he still is. He still is. And he also does, the other thing that he does is 2 weeks of fasting. Can you imagine? He just does water for 2 weeks. He does remarkable things, and which is why he is so fit. So one of his dream was to increase physical activity in the whole world. And that's been his dream. Not just bring out another paper or publish something, but actually increase physical activity, because as you will see in the presentations, it's physical inactivity which is driving the obesity epidemic and the diabetes epidemic. So how can we change that? So he was very kind when he saw some of the work that we are doing here, particularly the work done by Dr. Anjana and Ranjani and the MDRF team in improving physical activity, that he said, why don't we start a physical activity program? And so his visit here today has come just for this, just for one day. He just came this morning and he's leaving tomorrow. He has come exclusively for this one purpose of making Dr. R.M. Anjana the chair for the whole world for the IDF consensus group on physical activity. So that is the purpose of today's meeting, that we are starting a global program for the whole world for physical activity, because we believe that diet and exercise, nutrition and exercise, lifestyle modification is the way to treat type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is 90% of all diabetes, and unlike type 1 where you have to take insulin 4 times a day or use a pump and so on, in type 2 diabetes, which is 90% of the whole world, and Professor Schwartz will tell you the numbers, it's all increasing because physical activity is going down and we are eating unhealthy diets. We can change both of that. And so today is a historic day, it's a red letter day, because we are launching something for the whole world. And Professor Schwartz is here to tell you about it, and then Dr. Anjana will also talk about it, and then so I don't want to steal their thunder. But thank you all for coming. I know that we have been having the Ditwa cyclone and we're not even sure whether this event will go through, but so many of you from the press and media have come. Thank you. It's a very important event and I hope all of you will be able to cover it. After the presentations are over, if there are any questions, we would be happy to take them. So I just want to welcome Professor Schwartz and to welcome all of you for this very historic day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We now invite Professor Peter Schwartz. It's our honor to have you here today, sir. And please share your insights on today's momentous occasion.
Yeah. Dear Dr. Mohan, dear Dr. Anjana, and dear everyone in the room, all the press here in the room, I must say it's a great honor for me to be here. On my ways traveling through the world and visiting members, it's a great honor to be here in Chennai. It's a great honor for this activity today because we will today launch the IDF Global Physical Activity Consensus Group. And we will go into what it is. But if you have carefully listened to Dr. Mohan's introduction, there was active, and he is active, and we are active, and activity is needed, and it was the most common word used in his welcome address. And this is truly, if we think about diabetes on the global scale, activity is needed to set something against diabetes. Activity and physical activity is needed to walk away from diabetes. If we dive into the story, the IDF has released 589 million people living with diabetes on Earth. WHO is already talking about 830 million people living with diabetes on Earth. And I think these two numbers are right and wrong because I think they are not representing the current very fast increase in prevalence in number of people living with diabetes, especially here in the region. And if we want to make a long story short, if you ask me what are the two main determinants that people getting so fast, and especially here in the region, a very aggressive form of diabetes, and there are two things. And one is, and Dr. Mohan already has said it, it's what we are eating, and especially if we are eating fried carbs. This boosts the development of diabetes because if you fry carbs at a temperature of about 130 degrees Celsius, you build bonds between glucose and fat, and then we are eating this because it's tasty, it's lekker. But then we have this in our gut, and the body cannot break it down because it needs this bond between glucose and fat, because it needs a lot of energy to break it down. So the body is not doing it because there's a constant influx on energy, on overnutrition, overeating. And where is he storing this? And in the liver. And this is the way how we can destroy our liver. We call it MAFLD, metabolic associated fatty liver disease. And if you have 100 grams of fat in your liver, you become a non-responder to physical activity. And now we have a link to physical activity. So on one side, the determinant, the fat in the liver, is one of the main determinants of the development of diabetes. And we have to find a way to get the fat out of the liver. And I don't tell you a secret because Dr. Mohan has said it, 14 days of fasting. Fasting to go into a ketosis. The way of fasting, like your Prime Minister Modi is doing for 9 days every year, or some of the Hindus are doing it for even longer with water diet or water therapy, is a very efficient, very socially balanced way of doing something against diabetes. But this is not enough. I want to give you an idea about European data. If we jump 100 years back in Europe and we look what the people were eating 100 years ago and how physical active they have been 100 years ago. And many people in Europe have been farmers at this time. So they have eaten a lot because the full day they were on the farm and had to work hard and so on. Today, our lifestyle has changed totally. And we are still eating the same amount of energy. Actually, the quality of food in Europe went down We are eating a lot of processed food today and a lot of ingredients, a lot of overnutrition in our daily diet. But the amount of food is about the same. But the physical activity dropped by 80%. So we are only physically active to about 20% compared to 100 years ago. If I'm now looking into our human body, yeah, we are built with our muscles, our bones, our tendons to walk 36 to 39,000 steps a day. So this is a very long walking distance. From science, we know that 7 to 10,000 steps walking a day is a level what keeps you healthy. But if you are looking into the average what the population is walking, again European data, it's only 2,200 steps. We are a very, very lazy species. So now imagine you have a machinery for 36,000 steps and you use it only for 2,000 steps. It's clear that this machinery gets sick. So we have to think, how can we push and increase physical activity again? Let me make something else. If I would ask you, how many hours per day we are physical inactive? It's 23 hours and 40 minutes. It's unbelievable how lazy we are. So now let's turn again back and say, let's think as a scientist. So as a scientist, we know that the liver fat, what I just told you, this is very dangerous. Actually, the liver fat is responsible that diabetes progression in India is much faster than in many, many regions of the world. Or Southeast Asia develops much faster into diabetes than many other regions in the world. But the second thing what is important, it's fitness. So physical activity alone is one item, but the other aspect is as more fit you are, as better it is for your health. You even can be obese, but if your fitness level is high, so this is how strong you are, how many muscles you have, how physical active you are, this is a very important determinant for health. So even obese people can build up a good fitness and stay healthy. So this is a big opportunity. And what is the way to go there? Physical activity, physical activity, physical activity. And there are many, many models how to do it. Yeah? Walking steps, going for jogging, doing endurance exercise, and many, many other aspects you can use to do physical active. The muscle you are using, yeah? The muscle is not caring what you are using it for. If you use it, it's good. If you use the muscle cell, it keeps you healthy. And I'm totally proud because especially Dr. Anjana, she is thinking about this a lot. How can we make physical active more applicable to culture, more applicable to our lifestyle, more embedding it into our lifestyle? So for example, dancing. Dancing for 10 minutes, dancing a lot a day, using your earphones and whatever music and dance like crazy, or dance in a conservative way is a very, very, very good way to embed physical activity into your lifestyle. So for me as president of IDF, my heart is beating for doing whatever we can do to improve the quality of care and quality of diabetes prevention for everyone in the world. And the one side is the fasting, and the other side is how can we develop a global strategy for a global IDF strategy on physical activity within IDF Global Physical Activity Consensus Group today and this day in Chennai. And as a final statement, you can be very proud because you see Dr. Mohan, Dr. Anjana sitting here, and I'm traveling a lot in the world, and it's very, I get educated a lot by visiting the member organization. But what is also needed is leadership in diabetes care. You need leaders who translate science into practice, who develop models how to embed this, who test this, who do studies, who who have the competence to understand physiology, public health, clinical trials, but then also the translation into policy development and actionable items for our society. And you have two excellent representatives sitting there on the table. One who is leading the group of harmonizing gestational diabetes in the world, and the other one, Dr. Anjana, who is now getting announced as the chair of the IDF Physical Activity, Global Physical Activity Convention. So it's a great honor for me now to hand over.
I am completely honored and bowled over to receive this today. I never thought I saw this day coming, and I'm deeply thankful and honored. Thank you so much. So today I'm going to be talking about the IDF Global Active Guidelines that we are bringing out from IDF to the world. Now here's a paper published by Tessa Strain and the WHO group that talks about global trends all over the world about physical inactivity. And what we show is that even over the last few years, and we have projections up to 2030, across the world, women, there is a lot of physical inactivity. South Asia is no different. Look at the pink line there. That is women in South Asia. We're topping the bars at about 62% being inactive overall. So the story goes that across the world, in all continents, among men and women, there's a lot of physical inactivity. Now let's look at data from India. So this is from the ICMR India Diabetes or INDIAB study. We show that overall 60% of our population is inactive, physically inactive. This is much more in urban areas compared to rural areas. 70% of urban India is inactive. But the funny thing is 55%, 56% of rural India is also now inactive. And as you know, 70% of India still lives in her villages, and activity is coming down day by day. This is all a little bit worse in women compared to men. That was adults as we have them today. Now what about children? This is data again from the Global Lancet and Child Adolescent Health data. 80% of children in the adolescent age group are inactive. They're not meeting the physical activity guidelines. As a matter of fact, adults today are slightly more active than the children of today. And that is not a very good sign for the future. We have children today having obesity, hypertension, heart disease. This was unheard of, say 3 decades ago. But today children are becoming so unhealthy, getting diabetes young and having all of the complications that come with it. If you look at data from India, this is the Be Active India study. It was part of the international IPEN network of 14 countries. We put accelerometers on these children, so these are actually measures of how much activity the child has. It is recommended for children to have 60 minutes of activity per day. What is the score that we have? Boys have 33.9 minutes of activity. Girls have 18 minutes of active time in there. This is adolescent age group. So girls are very inactive, boys are inactive as well. Now what about school? They're going to school, everybody has PT periods, right? So the PT period exists, and as long as you're in younger classes, you're doing some PT. But what happens when you reach 10th boards, 11th, 12th boards? The PT period becomes maths class, science class, finish portion, do exam, yeah? Which is the first period to go? PT period. Correct? So you can see that activity itself is losing importance at this time. And if you leave school, outside of school, how much activity do they do? Nothing, in fact. So how many people play 1 hour a day outside of school? 40% of boys and 25% of girls. So all of this is a little worse in girls than it is in boys. Here's data from the IPEN study. I told you this was a 14-country study. This is a paper I led, which talks about sedentary behavior. What is sedentary behavior? It's sitting time. Sitting time in these children, and we find that having social media, personal social media for children, so these are all adolescent age group, 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old children, boys and girls, it is the single most important risk factor for sitting. And that leads to obesity, that leads to diabetes. So if already among these children, do you know across the globe, average sitting time among children is 7.8 to 10.5 hours. We only have 24 hours in a day. 7-8 hours they'll sleep. The rest of the time they're sitting. Right? So that is scary. These children are sitting, there's no movement. That's why I was trying to say adults have less sitting time than this. The current generation of adults are much more active than the current generation of children that we have. So encouraging physical activity starts young. And that is the behavior that they are going to carry into adulthood. And thus I come to the IDF Global Active Guidelines. Thank you. So physical inactivity is a problem around the world, just like COVID was a problem around the world. We are no longer talking just about a region or India or anything like that. We are bringing the world together through this program. Activity has to start young, has to be there in adults. Everybody has to start moving towards activity in order to gain the most important thing, health, which is everything. So to prioritize real world programs and community focused engagement to create measurable improvements in physical activity levels across the world. So what is it? We've done enough science on all this. Everybody knows that activity is good for health. Everybody knows there are health benefits. You know, patients with diabetes can control their sugars. There's no lack of knowledge on this. The lack is in the activity, the behavior. And this group is all about making that behavior happen. It aims to integrate evidence, policy, and community action to help people to move and get more fit. So why IDF? IDF is a global leader. It has credibility and partnerships, member organizations across the globe. It is the single most important and largest organization with special focus on low and middle income countries. It has cross-sectoral reach in health, education, transport and planning. Trusted advocacy and evidence-based approaches. All of us trust the IDF numbers, the IDF guidelines that come, and community networks capable of driving behavior change. So now let's start with the active guidelines, the IDF Global Active Guidelines. The first thing we're going to do is launch an IDF Global Physical Activity Consensus Group, and that is what I was the chair of just now. So here we need people from all over the world. We're no longer talking regional, we're talking about the world. So a group of people will come together to make these guidelines active. We're going to launch the IDF Active Health Campaign. So what is this? Everyone talks about 10,000 steps a day. We now know we can walk up to 39,000 steps a day, and we don't do so. Just to let you know, Professor Schwartz, the Indian average is also 2,200. The average Indian walks 2,200 steps a day. So we are way off, and we keep telling people, let's do 10,000 steps, let's do 10,000 steps, etc. But we find that 10 is a very big number, and people don't achieve that number quite easily. So there has been a push, and there has been enough evidence now that has generated to go towards 7,000 steps a day, at least that. Always remember, with physical activity, the more is better, always. But when we talk about a minimum number that is needed, that has now moved to 7,000 steps a day, and this is global for adults, for children, for men, for women. The number is the same. It's 7,000 steps per day. So what we're going to do is create a global platform where people can log onto these 7,000 steps, use low-cost physical activity promotion to make this happen, track this through personal trackers which can be on your phone. That is what we're planning to do, and then take this to a digital platform where country-wise, region-wise, you can actually start improving the step count. We found that when we had the DMDSC fitness challenge and step count, so many of our employees, it's amazing, people are walking 21,000 steps a day. 21,000 steps we have, our own staff walking. Okay, so there's a lot of walking going on. It's just the motivation that is needed. So 7,000 everybody, all of you can do. So giving people the opportunity to showcase what they're doing, become more active is what this is about. Schools and colleges have particular focus because our children and youth need to start becoming active. It's not just something that we are talking about, it's an actual problem, it's a real problem, something we have to crack. So we're going to put down some guidelines for IDF active schools, what an active school should look like. There should be a movement-friendly campus. There should be space for children to play, active transport to and within school. PT periods are going to become compulsory, as are fitness movements, walkathons, anything that we can do within the school environment to see the children are moving rather than sitting and studying. Studying is important, but health is even more important. So we don't want, I was at the Sopan Allen thing a few days ago, that's their annual awards for Allen, and I was saying for NEET, we don't want achievers with 720 on 720 coming with cardiac arrest the next day. We don't want that, right? We want our children to be healthy. It doesn't matter what they achieve or if they don't achieve, but we want them to live healthily and happily. And that, I think, as parents, as community-led people, as public health people, we should push for health more than anything else. So that is about schools. We're also trying to change things in youth. Now, youth are all about peers, right? And our Gen Z, as we all know, is a very different animal, actually. So we're trying to reach these people and trying to create a Gen Z-led movement of physical activity. So guess what? It becomes cool to move. So how we're going to do that, I don't know, but that's the idea that we are trying to achieve, trying to make children as advocates for physical activity and encouraging physical activity through this movement. For adults, IDF active workplaces, we have shown in DMDSC this is possible, right? So reaching out to various institutions, again, step challenges, active workspaces, employee incentives for movement and active environments are things that we're going to look at. Again, a scoring system for active workplaces. So at the end of this, IDF will then certify IDF active institutions, which can be a school, a college, a workplace, doesn't matter, but the more active employees are, the more healthy they're going to be and more productive they're going to be. So getting institutions to be active. We are, after all, the International Diabetes Federation, so our patients are at the center of everything we do. So active patients, patient-centered programs, separately for type 1 and type 2, more activity, doesn't matter what type of diabetes you have, whatever type, it will make you healthier, gets rid of the liver fat, obesity, and diabetes. So that is there as well. But we can't do this alone. We need governmental support. So we work with government and NGOs, urban planners. We need safe walking spaces, cycling tracks, inclusive public spaces. Chennai has been really good with all of our parks. Trying to get our youth to move towards it. Bangalore has been very good in this, the places where they have non-traffic areas for pedestrian walkways. So trying to get more and more cities to engage in movement-friendly public design. Trying to get physical activity into our national NCD goals. It's not even in the radar of NCD goals at the moment. So we have been talking to the ministry and they are very, very interested. Invest in public-private partnerships to include inclusive community-based activity program. Getting the community to be active. And I just want to give a small example here. If you have free time on a Sunday, what is it that you would choose to do? Go to a movie? Go to the mall, sleep, restaurant, eat, all high calorie food. Who is going and doing some kind of physical activity? It's not a community thing, right? In all of our festivals, you take any festival ever. Okay, tomorrow's Kartika Deepam. right? What will we do? We will pray, we will wear new clothes, we will eat a lot. Call a lot of people and eat some more, right? There's no activity in any of our community activities. So trying to build community, and this is different for every community. What works in India may not work in Congo, may not work in US, it's different. So locally relevant things like Tandav. So Tandav, we talked so much about women, I brought it up at every opportunity I had. I said women were worse off, especially in India. When we try to make women more active, we have so much of resistance to that. So we came up with a program, ladies and gentlemen, that is called Tandav. So this is a culturally, locally relevant fitness solution that at the moment is aimed at women. It's a 10-minute high intensity interval training dance routine. It has 4 songs, Bollywood, Mollywood, Tollywood. It actually has even Afro and Western music, no Ranjani? Folk songs. So it has how it works on your heart rate for burning fat. There's a 2-minute high at 80 to 90% of heart rate for age, and then there's a 30-second low at 50 to 60% of heart rate. You do this 4 times and this is enough. In 10 minutes you burn fat. Do we have evidence for this? We do. We went to children and we did this, we published this in DTT, where we showed that the routine actually reaches HIIT norms. So that's the first publication. Then we went to schools. So this is the HIIT norms. It was novel and culturally appropriate form of physical activity that takes little time and can be done at home. So it helps to improve cardiorespiratory fitness and prevent non-communicable diseases in Asian Indian girls. Then we went to schools and we tried to see whether we could give it to children generally in schools and how it would be acceptable. We're thrilled to see the results. As you know, sarcopenia is a very important thing. Lack of muscle is something that we see a lot. We see increase in muscle mass. There was decrease in body fat. Waist circumference came down a little bit on blood pressure. They really improved their minutes. Remember that 18 minutes? That almost went up to 30 minutes per day for these girls. Sleep improved. Sedentary time came down significantly. Stress came down because dancing is a huge stress buster. Stress came down. These are adolescent children, hormonal, all of them girls. Junk food consumption came down. So all of this was a benefit. Culturally, it was completely acceptable. We had the girls coming and then they told their friends and their friends told their friends. Yeah. And all of this became a community. We had the moms joining. And the moms came and said, can I? So we had mother-daughter, dyads coming in to the program, and this became an entire community. Now can we play the video, please?
Physical activity, much more today, because it's cheap. It doesn't cost to move. It's an effective. If you use your muscle like this Tandav, it's important in this moment, but it lasts. So the muscle you build up today helps you tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And it's in terms of inequalities of access to care, it's very socially balanced strategy against diabetes. So fasting and physical activity doesn't cost money, socially balanced, solves inequality in access to care, and this is a new IDF strategy.
Madam, you said active guidelines. It's only for healthy people. What about people with comorbidities? Something like that?
So I did have a patient-centric guideline as well. It's not just for, so there are 2 or 3 parts to this. One is prevention. And now, so you were asking about IDF. We should ask about our ministries and our own national guidelines. Why physical activity is not there? The thing is, it is there, but it's really not there. It just says in one line, do 10,000 steps a day. That is there everywhere. It's not like anyone doesn't have that. The question is why that is not happening. And today we have realized because that is not happening, that is leading to a lot of problems, and hence people are taking this up now. Now, this has parts that has a part with health and a part with the not so healthy ones. So the part with health, you see schools, colleges, but inside of these workplaces, there are plenty of people with comorbidities, and all of these comorbidities will benefit through a physical activity program. So all of what I said through either dancing or step count or anything will help every single comorbidity, metabolic disease that we have, and it's very much part of, there is a section that will work on patient-centric guidelines as well.
I would like to add a little bit to this question. If you think about the potential of physical activity as part of diabetes treatment, walking 1,000 steps in 600 meters, it lowers the blood sugar in the same way like eating 2,000 milligrams of metformin. So if we are honest, I apologize for what I'm saying, the true diabetology is not in our brain as diabetologists, it's also not in our prescription as diabetologists, it's in the muscle of our patients. And if we are able to activate this muscle, and you see the leader of muscle activation for IDF here, then we can change the world for people living with diabetes. And of course, there are brilliant drugs out there to treat. But the most effective, the most sustainable, and the most ethical way is physical activity, physical activity, physical activity.
So, Dr. Schwartz mentioned about the liver fat. More and more we are understanding the fat is not just in the liver, by the way. It's also in the muscle, it's in the adipose tissue, it's in the pancreas, it is in the heart, everywhere where fat should not be. If you have fat outside on the skin, that's actually good for us. It's like wearing an extra coat. But when it goes inside, வயிற்றுக்குள்ள போயிடுச்சுன்னா அப்புறம் லிவர்ல ஹார்ட்ல பிளட் வெசல் வந்துச்சுன்னா it is very bad. So that is what is happening today, and that is where insulin resistance comes. And when insulin resistance comes, that leads to diabetes, obesity, heart disease. So by physical activity, you're actually, of course, diet also plays a very important role, but a physical activity can melt that fat. So you were saying in 2 weeks the liver fat can completely go. That's why, of course, total fasting, only drinking water only for 2 weeks. But if you reduce it to 50% of fat, you cut down one meal or do something, some kind of a fasting, then it helps a lot. Or you replace, what we also showed is we replace some of the carbohydrate with protein. That also helps. But you also need physical activity. And physical activity, we all tell people you walk, but that's not working. So today we want to make it into a program. And this program, we want to even give it to governments, not just Indian government, but governments all over the world. So it will be made, the program will be made in such a way that any country can take it and then implement it.
Last question, sir. You are touring all countries. What about India? Where India stands in terms of diabetes when you compare with other countries?
So we are currently number 2 because China, there are not too many children, whereas in India the demographic dividend is such that almost 50% of the population below 20 years of age. China it's not like that. And China's lifespan is much more, life expectancy of 80-85 years. In India is only 70. So technically China has more number of people with diabetes than India. So we are number 2, of course. But we have overtaken China in the population last year. And now China's population is going to go down like that. And our population up to 2050 it will keep going up. So it's only a question of time. The next 5 years I think we'll completely overtake China. It's not a good thing. We don't want gold medal in number of diabetic patients. But that's going to happen, unfortunately. And the Chinese are much more active. If you see the number of gold medals they win in the Olympics, they are winning much more than us. They are physically active. They have cut down the carbohydrates. They are taking more protein. We have not yet reached that. So we have got a long way to go.
Already in kindergartens, in schools, the children are involved in embedding physical activity in their daily behavior. And this is very important because a child learns up to the age of 3 and then up to the age of 6 behavior. It copies the behavior of the parents, and by this learning eating behavior, also physical activity behavior from the parent. So this period is very important. Yeah? If the parents are physically active as a child, yeah, the child embed this into the brain. If the parents value the child by giving sweets, the child lifelong will know sweets are good, are something important. So applying this scientific understanding of behavior to improving physical activity behavior, this is what the new group will do. And if I'm allowed to dream, yeah, the tandem, yeah, imagine if there comes a global strategy of dancing away the diabetes by 10 minutes active dancing every day. And this is something Dr. Anjana said, screen time on the smartphone is a solitary determinant of increased risk. But if the people have the smartphone in their hand, let's use the smartphone to turn it around, to track your dancing time every day, and do this worldwide. And we will very, very strongly working with leaders like Dr. Anjana to make this a reality globally.